A woman's beauty is not in what she reveals, but in what she guards. Her dreams are hers to cradle, her wounds hers to mend. Her strength, her fears, her strategy, her mystery, these are sacred treasures. To conceal is not deceit, it is divine protection. Her dreams are the soil from which her life blossoms. They are the quiet whispers she hears when the world is asleep, when no one is watching, when the lights are dim and the truth of her heart is too tender to place in anyone else's hands. Dreams are not decorations, they are directions. They are not meant to be handled like fragile glass by those who cannot understand their weight, their fire, their holy urgency. A woman must learn that her dreams are sacred altars, and not every altar deserves to be visited by another's footsteps. Too often, the world will demand to know her plans before they are fully formed. Questions will press against her lips, asking her to justify the visions she sees in her mind's sky. But a dream in its infancy is delicate. It can be bruised by careless words, stifled by disbelief, or drowned beneath the heavy laughter of doubt. A woman's silence in those moments is her shield. She does not owe the unveiling of her dream to those who will not carry it with reverence. To hide a dream is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the wisdom of knowing that not everyone is meant to be a witness to the birth of her becoming. There are those who, in their own fear, will crush her vision before it breathes its first full breath. There are those who will tell her it is too grand, too wild, too impossible, simply because they themselves have stopped believing in the music of possibility. Why would she hand them her unfinished song? Why would she ask them to hear the melody when their ears have forgotten how to listen? A woman's dream is her inheritance from the divine. It is the spark of creation placed in her spirit, the proof that she carries more inside her than what the eye can see. To share it carelessly is to place diamonds in unworthy hands. To guard it, to nurture it in silence is to let it grow strong roots before it faces the winds of the world. There is power in withholding, in keeping the fire close until it is ready to light the sky. Every dream carries with it a season. Just as seeds rest beneath the soil before breaking into bloom, a dream must live unseen before it can live in the open. In that unseen space, it strengthens. It gathers courage. It learns her voice, her heartbeat, her rhythm. And when it emerges, it will no longer tremble. It will stand tall, undeniable. But until then, she must protect it. She must hide it, not out of fear, but out of fierce love for her own destiny. To reveal a dream too soon is to risk having it misunderstood. To reveal it to the wrong heart is to risk betrayal. Not every man, not every companion, not every friend can hold the weight of a woman's vision. Some may diminish it, others may try to claim it, and still others may run from its brilliance. But the woman who hides her dream knows this: what is meant for her cannot be stolen, and what is sacred cannot be reduced. She hides her dream not because she doubts herself, but because she trusts herself. She knows that her dream belongs first to her and only later, when the time is right, to the world. She learns that her dream is not a public announcement, but a private covenant. And in that covenant, she is strengthened. She whispers it only to the heavens, to her own spirit, to the secret chambers of her soul. And when the day comes, when her hidden dream rises like the dawn, she will not need to explain, to defend, or to justify. The world will see the fruit and marvel. They will wonder where it came from, not knowing that while they slept, she was cultivating it in silence. They will stand astonished at her brilliance, not realizing that brilliance was born from her refusal to let her vision be touched by careless hands. A woman must always hide her dreams, not as an act of fear, but as an act of sacred defiance. For her dreams are not for everyone's eyes. They are for her to cradle, to nurture, and to release when they are unshakable, undeniable, and unstoppable. Her dreams are the map of her freedom, and freedom must never be surrendered too soon. Her wounds are not open invitations. They are not spectacles for careless eyes to wander across, nor are they proof of her softness to be weighed and judged by those who would never survive the pain she has endured. A woman's wounds are carved with fire, etched into her soul by trials that most will never see. They are not meant to be offered up like confessions to someone who has neither the patience to understand them nor the tenderness to respect them. Her wounds are not proof of her weakness. They are evidence of her survival, and survival does not beg to be explained. When she hides her wounds, she does not pretend they do not exist. She simply knows that some pains must be healed in silence. Not every story deserves a stage. Not every scar deserves an audience. Some wounds are too sacred, too holy, too deeply tied to her spirit's lessons to be handed over for casual consumption. To keep them hidden is not to deny them, it is to honor them. For in her hidden scars lies the wisdom that shapes her steps, the resilience that strengthens her spine, and the depth of empathy that makes her human. The world has always been eager to ask women to bear their hurts, as if pain is a performance and healing is a show. But she knows better. She understands that vulnerability is powerful, but only when it is chosen, not when it is demanded. She will not offer her pain to be dissected, analyzed, or dismissed by hands that cannot hold it with care. She will not make her wounds an entertainment, nor will she hand them to someone who may use them as weapons against her. Her wounds are hers to tend. They are her secret battlefields where she has fought against despair and emerged still standing. They are her quiet teachers, whispering truths about trust, about endurance, about love, and about betrayal. To share them too freely is to risk trivializing the very lessons they gave her. So she hides them. She covers them in dignity, wraps them in silence, and carries them like jewels only she knows the worth of. Sometimes hiding her wounds is an act of rebellion. The world may expect her to bleed openly, to prove her pain so others can validate it. But she resists. She chooses to keep her sacred bruises tucked away because they are not meant for public approval. Healing is not a performance. It is a sanctuary, and sanctuaries are not built for the gaze of strangers. A woman must also know that wounds, when revealed too soon, can invite harm. There are those who are not healers but hunters, who prey on weakness, who exploit softness, who twist confessions into chains. By hiding her wounds, she denies them that power. She protects herself from being defined by her past, from being reduced to her suffering. She does not allow her scars to become labels others attach to her name. Instead, she carries them as silent proof of her power. She learns that some wounds do not need to be explained for them to have meaning. The ache she hides in her chest has already taught her compassion. The betrayal she buried deep has already taught her discernment. The heartbreak she stitched together in silence has already taught her resilience. Why then should she reopen them for someone else's inspection? Her wounds have already fulfilled their purpose. They have given her wisdom, and wisdom does not require applause. There is a power in her hidden pain, a sacredness in her silence. She knows that to share her wounds is to trust another with the rawest pieces of her soul, and not everyone is worthy of that trust. Not every man, not every friend, not every lover is equipped to hold that kind of truth. So she chooses carefully, and more often she chooses not at all. She understands that some parts of her are meant to remain hers alone, unspoken and unseen. A woman who hides her wounds is not cold, she is wise. She has learned that her pain is not currency to buy affection, nor is it a gift to prove intimacy. It is a private language between her and the universe, between her and her God, between her and the mirror that reflects her strength back to her. She does not need to hand it over to validate her worth. She already knows what she has survived. She already knows what she carries. And she knows, above all, that her wounds are not for him to touch, not for him to measure, not for him to heal. Her strength is not for display, not for applause, not for the comfort of those who only wish to taste its sweetness, but never honor its cost. A woman's strength is the result of storms she did not invite, battles she did not announce, and pain she did not deserve. It is not something she inherited without sacrifice. It is something she built piece by piece, moment by moment, when life demanded more of her than she thought she had to give. Strength in a woman is often misunderstood. People see her standing tall and believe she has never fallen. They see her smiling and imagine her path has been paved with ease. But her strength is the echo of nights she cried silently, holding her own heart together when no one else was there to catch it. It is the melody of mornings when she rose again, despite the weight that pressed against her chest, despite the doubts that tried to chain her down. This strength, forged in fire, is too sacred to be fully revealed to anyone who might take it for granted. A woman must hide her strength, not because she is ashamed of it, but because it is the very foundation of her survival. When she reveals it too freely, there are those who will use it against her. Some will demand more of her simply because she has shown them she can endure. Some will forget her need for tenderness, for rest, for gentleness, because they believe her strength makes her invincible. But she is not invincible. She is human, and her strength, though vast, is not endless. To conceal it is to protect it. To hide it is to keep it from being exploited. There is a quiet power in holding back, in allowing the world to see only a glimpse of her fire. For when she shows too much, people will lean on her without pause, drawing from her well without ever thinking to fill it. She knows this truth. If she does not guard her strength, others will drain it. If she does not set boundaries, they will take until she is empty. Hiding her strength, then, is not selfishness. It is survival. It is self-preservation in a world that too often mistakes resilience for availability. Her strength is also her strategy. She understands that to reveal all of it at once is to expose her hand, to let others measure her limits, to let them plan around her power. But when she hides it, when she tucks it close to her chest, she remains a mystery. She holds the advantage of being underestimated. She lets the world think she is weaker than she is, until the moment arrives when she must rise, and then her strength astonishes them. This is wisdom. This is mastery. For strength is not meant to be worn like an open crown. It is meant to be carried like a hidden jewel, shining only when the time is right. A woman's strength is not simply in what she endures, but in what she refuses to endure any longer. It is in the way she says no when silence would be easier. It is in the way she walks away from what does not honor her. It is in the way she builds again, even after everything she built was broken. These strengths, quiet and unspoken, are hers to cherish. She does not need to parade them before a man, nor offer them as proof of her worth. Her strength is not for him to measure. It belongs to her alone. Hiding her strength does not mean diminishing herself. It means she recognizes that strength is not a performance. She does not need to roar to prove her power. Sometimes her silence is louder than any thunder. She does not need to fight every battle to show her courage. Sometimes her restraint is the bravest act of all. She does not need to carry the world on her back to be respected. Sometimes laying it down is the truest evidence of her might. Strength is not always loud. It is often quiet, steady, unwavering. And that quiet strength, hidden but alive, is the kind that endures. She hides her strength because she understands that not every man, not every friend, not every companion can carry the truth of it. Some would feel threatened, some would attempt to diminish it, some would try to tame it. But her strength is not meant to be tamed. It is not meant to be softened so that others feel safe beside it. It is meant to be hers, free and unyielding. To guard it is to honor herself. To keep it hidden is to ensure that when she does reveal it, it shakes the ground. Her strength is a temple, and not all are welcome inside. It is the secret she carries in her bones, the truth she whispers to herself in the dark, the force that has carried her across deserts of despair and oceans of loss. To hide it is not to deny it, it is to protect its holiness. For her strength is her crown, and a crown is not something to be passed from hand to hand. It is to be worn silently, with dignity, and only revealed when the moment calls for it. Her fears are not for every ear to hear, nor every eye to witness. They are shadows she carries quietly, stitched deep within her spirit, too sacred to be spoken carelessly into the air. A woman's fears are not proof of her fragility. They are proof of her humanness, the tender reminder that even the strongest hearts tremble at times. But fear, when revealed to the wrong person, can become a weapon. That is why she keeps it close, why she hides it, why she refuses to hand it to anyone who would use it against her. To confess fear is to open the deepest chamber of her soul. It is to admit where the cracks lie, where the vulnerability rests, where the armor grows thin. Not every man deserves to know these places. Not every hand is gentle enough to touch that trembling part of her being, for there are those who, when handed the knowledge of her fear, would use it to bind her, to control her, to keep her small. There are those who would press on the wound, not to heal it, but to remind her it exists. And so she learns the art of silence, the wisdom of keeping some truths unspoken. Fear is not always weakness. It can be a compass. It shows her what matters most. It tells her where her heart is invested, where her dreams feel most fragile, where her love runs deepest. But to reveal that compass is to hand someone else the map of her heart. Why should she let another know the places where her spirit quivers? Why should she hand over the directions to her undoing? To hide her fears is to protect herself from being undone by careless or cruel hands. She knows, too, that many misunderstand fear. They think it diminishes her strength. They imagine it makes her less capable, less worthy, less powerful. But she knows the opposite is true. Fear has been her teacher. Fear has walked beside her when she dared to step forward anyway. Fear has sat in her chest while she spoke truths that could shatter silence. Fear has lingered in her bones when she loved again after betrayal, when she rose again after falling. To feel fear and still continue, that is courage. That is the marrow of her strength. And that, too, is why she hides it. Not because it is shameful, but because it is sacred. A woman learns that the world often expects her to wear bravery like a mask, to always appear unshaken, to always seem unafraid, to never admit the trembling inside her. But she knows there is no shame in fear. It simply does not belong to everyone. It belongs to her in the quiet of her own soul, where she can wrestle with it, pray over it, breathe through it. Fear is intimate. It belongs in her hands, not in the mouths of others. Some fears are ancient, passed down like echoes from the women before her. The fear of being silenced, the fear of being unseen, the fear of being diminished. Others are personal, born from wounds she has carried, betrayals she has endured, losses that carved her spirit. Each fear has a story. Each story has a lesson. But the lessons are hers to learn, not gifts to be handed over freely. She hides her fears because they are her private teachers, and no one else can take the test for her. There is also power in the mystery of her hidden fears. When others cannot see what shakes her, they cannot control her. When they do not know where her vulnerabilities lie, they cannot exploit them. She maintains her freedom by refusing to reveal every corner of her trembling heart. She knows that the unknown protects her as much as her strength does. For mystery is armor, and fear, when hidden, becomes less of a chain and more of a quiet fuel. A woman's fears do not make her small. They make her human. They remind her she has something to lose, something to love, something to fight for. But she need not bear them to another just to prove she is alive. She can live. She can thrive. She can carry them with grace, without handing them over. She can tremble and still stand tall. She can weep and still rise. She can ache and still move forward. Her fears belong to her, and in their concealment, she keeps her dignity intact. She hides her fears not because she is afraid of judgment, but because she treasures herself. She knows that fear can be twisted into chains if placed in unworthy hands. She knows that silence can be protection. She knows that even in trembling, she remains powerful. So she holds her fears close, like sacred secrets, whispering them only to herself, to her Creator, to the night sky that has seen her through so many storms. And in that sacred keeping, her fears no longer control her. They become hers, private, precious, protected. Her strategy is the quiet map she carries within her spirit, the unspoken blueprint of her becoming. It is not something she scatters on tables for the world to read, nor is it a scroll she hands to anyone curious enough to ask. A woman's strategy is her private navigation, the way she transforms obstacles into openings, detours into directions, and silence into power. To reveal it too soon is to risk its unraveling. To hide it is to honor its sacredness. Every step she takes is not chance, it is choice. Her strategy is born of long nights of thinking, of listening to her inner voice, of measuring the rhythm of her own heartbeat. She learns when to move forward and when to pause, when to bend and when to remain unshaken. Strategy is the wisdom that turns her scars into maps, the instinct that teaches her how to plant her seeds in fertile ground. It is her vision sharpened by experience, her cunning shaped by survival, her intuition woven into every decision. But not everyone can be trusted with that vision. To tell another her plan is to invite their doubts, their fears, their smallness into her boundless horizon. There are those who, unable to imagine her greatness, will tell her it cannot be done. There are those who, hungry for her brilliance, will steal her idea and call it their own. And there are those who, cloaked in love, will unknowingly weaken her by convincing her to shrink. She knows this. She has learned it. So she holds her strategy close, protecting it as carefully as she would protect her child. Strategy is not only about what she does, but also about what she does not do. It is knowing which battles to fight and which to let pass. It is knowing when silence is louder than words, when patience is stronger than speed. Her strategy is the quiet grace of waiting until the fruit is ripe before she picks it, the discipline to resist the world's demand for urgency when her spirit whispers for stillness. It is the art of moving with intention rather than reaction. A woman who hides her strategy is not secretive out of fear, but out of wisdom. She knows that seeds grow best in darkness before they meet the sun. To expose them too early is to risk them being plucked before their roots take hold. She lets her vision breathe in private, away from eyes that might wither it. She lets her plan strengthen in silence so that when it emerges, it cannot be shaken. Her concealment is not deception, it is protection. Her strategy also allows her to surprise. When she guards her plan, she holds the power of timing. She is not predictable, not easily read, not easily cornered. Those who doubt her may dismiss her, those who envy her may underestimate her, but when the time comes, her unveiling leaves them astonished. Her victory is not loud preparation, it is quiet revelation. This is the brilliance of her hidden strategy. It keeps her steps her own, untouchable, until she decides to show them. Every woman knows that life is not lived without challenges, without opposition, without barriers. Strategy is how she navigates them without losing herself. She learns to smile when needed, to listen when silence serves her, to speak only when her words carry the weight of thunder. She learns to move like water, soft enough to flow, strong enough to carve stone. Her strategy is her survival, but also her artistry. It is how she builds a life that does not just endure, but flourishes. And though the world may demand to know her every intention, she resists. She does not hand over the map of her future because it is not theirs to follow. It is hers to walk. She knows that revelation without readiness is dangerous, that transparency without discernment is costly. So she shares only what is necessary, and even then, never everything. For mystery is not weakness, it is strength disguised in silence. Her strategy is her sovereignty. It is the proof that she belongs first to herself, that her steps are chosen and not dictated, that her life is built with purpose rather than accident. To reveal it to a man, to anyone undeserving, is to risk surrendering that sovereignty. And she will not, for her path is hers alone, her journey hers to design, her crown hers to wear. She keeps her strategy hidden because she knows the truth. Power lives in privacy, and in the quiet chambers of her mind, she shapes a future no one can steal. Her mystery is the one gift she must never surrender, the sacred veil that keeps her essence from being completely consumed. A woman's mystery is not trickery, not concealment meant to deceive. It is her natural right to remain partly unknown, partly untouchable, partly beyond anyone's reach. The world will often demand that she lay herself bare, that she explain every thought, every choice, every dream, until there is nothing left but transparency. But transparency is not freedom when it leaves her stripped of her magic. Mystery is her freedom, her shield, her power. To be mysterious is not to be dishonest, it is to be whole. It is the quiet decision to keep something of herself for herself. Her mystery is the flame behind her eyes, the silence between her words, the rhythm of her spirit that no one can imitate. It is the way she can be known yet never fully known, seen yet never fully seen, loved yet never fully possessed. That is what makes her unforgettable. That is what makes her infinite. The woman who keeps her mystery alive refuses to let herself be a solved riddle. She will not give away every answer, for answers reduce, they diminish, they finalize. But she is not meant to be finalized. She is meant to keep unfolding, to keep surprising, to keep expanding beyond the limits others try to place on her. If she hands over her mystery, she hands over her power. But if she guards it, she remains a force no one can predict, no one can contain, no one can control. Mystery is what gives her depth. Without it, she risks becoming flat, a story too easily read, a song with no more verses. But with it, she is endless. She carries within her layers that no man, no friend, no stranger can ever fully uncover. And those layers are not walls, they are gardens. Some may walk among the flowers she allows them to see, but the roots, the soil, the seeds, those belong only to her. Mystery keeps her sacred center untouched. There is also beauty in what is withheld. To reveal everything is to empty the cup, but to conceal some is to let others taste without ever drinking it dry. A woman's mystery allows her to give while still keeping. It is what makes her presence linger long after she has gone. It is why people remember her, not just for what she showed, but for what they could never quite grasp. That is the spell of her mystery. Too often the world equates love with ownership, as if to love her is to know her completely, as if to know her completely is to master her. But a woman knows that mastery is not love, it is control, and she is not meant to be controlled. She is meant to be cherished, to be honored, to be respected in all her wholeness, which includes the part that cannot be fully known. Her mystery is the part of her that belongs only to herself, and keeping it hidden ensures she remains sovereign over her own soul. Mystery is also protection. When she reveals too much, she risks being reduced to what she has confessed. But when she guards part of herself, she cannot be simplified. She cannot be placed in a box, cannot be pinned to a single story, cannot be made small enough for someone else's comfort. Her mystery keeps her larger than life, larger than any definition, larger than any man's understanding. And she deserves to be larger. She deserves to be uncontainable. The woman who keeps her mystery alive also keeps her joy. For mystery is the place where she dreams, where she creates, where she communes with the deepest parts of her being. It is the wellspring she draws from when the world tries to empty her. It is the secret garden where she rests when everything outside demands her energy. Without mystery, she would be exposed, exhausted, and diminished. With it, she is replenished, renewed, radiant. Her mystery is not just for others, it is for herself. It is the reminder that she does not need to be understood to be worthy. She does not need to be explained to be loved. She does not need to be revealed to be powerful. She is powerful because she exists, because she carries in her a divine spark that is hers alone. Mystery protects that spark. Mystery ensures it is never extinguished by hands that do not know how to hold it. So she keeps her mystery like a jewel pressed close to her heart. She does not hand it over. She does not explain it away. She does not trade it for approval. She knows that her beauty lies not only in what she reveals, but in what she guards. And her mystery, more than anything else, is the proof that she belongs first, last, and always to herself. A woman is not made whole by what she shares, but by what she protects. Her dreams, her wounds, her strength, her fears, her strategy, her mystery, these are not burdens to hand away, but treasures to cradle. To hide them is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the art of self-preservation, the poetry of sovereignty, the quiet rebellion against a world that asks her to be bare when she was born to be sacred. A woman who guards her inner temple is not less loving, not less giving, not less alive. She is more. For she understands that love without boundaries is surrender, and power without privacy is peril. She keeps her essence intact, not for secrecy's sake, but for freedom's. And when she stands, clothed in silence and crowned with mystery, she reminds the world that she does not exist to be solved, consumed, or owned. She exists to be, to rise, to live as her fullest, most guarded, and most glorious self,